And joining us now, David Lepofsky. He is the chair of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act Alliance. And we welcome you back to TVO, Dave. It's good to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Let's just start with some basic background before we get into the voting issues. And that is, we're told there are 1 million people in this province with a disability. Disability defined as what?
It's actually over 1.5 million, and that's a person with a significant physical or mental or sensory disability. I'm blind, I have a sensory disability. There are people who have learning disabilities. People who either can't walk at all, use a wheelchair, may use a scooter, may use a walker, may not be able to go significant distances, but where their physical or mental or sensory condition limits some of their activities if the environment isn't built accessibly.
Okay. A couple of Ontario governments in the past decade have tried to pass laws dealing with people who have disabilities, one in 2001, another attempt in 2005. Can you tell us what the 2005 Act attempted to do that the previous Act didn't cover?
Well, the first thing it does is it sets an end date by which Ontario must become fully accessible for people with disabilities. The goods, services, and employment opportunities everybody else enjoys have to be accessible to us. That's 2025. For some, that may seem a long way off, but it was felt that we needed an end date, and I know of no other jurisdiction in Canada or elsewhere that set an end date. The second thing it did is it applied this to the private as well as the public sector. It covers everybody. And the third thing it does is it requires the government to develop and then implement and enforce accessibility standards that explains to people what needs to be done to become accessible and by when. And to develop it, it's not just something that comes from Queen's Park. These are supposed to be developed in close consultation with experts in how to run a business, namely the business community, and experts in disabilities, namely people with disabilities.
Now, if they've got 15 years to pull this together still, how do you make sure that they are sort of on track and on time to meet those targets?
Well, we actually think they're behind schedule. They've had 20 years since the law was passed. They've already...
Sorry, mate, wheelchairs only.
What?
Well, I don't make the rules.
Sorry. There we go. It's the kind of thing you notice when you're in a wheelchair and that you don't otherwise notice.
Now, there's always one seat here that flips up. Yeah. Now, the challenge of getting on, coming over here, flipping this seat up, and actually sitting there is not going to happen. Right, it's too difficult. What I typically do is come in, and fortunately I have to block a bit of traffic, because this is the safest spot for me to be in. So you show up to a stop, and all of a sudden, it's out of service.
What's plan B?
So what do you do?
Go above ground and call Wheel-Trans.
Yeah, or you don't. Wheel-Trans is not a same-day service.
Yeah,
you can't even
do that same day.
Right, so you basically have to go outside and wheel to another accessible stop, which wouldn't be so bad if they were all accessible, right? Because sometimes you're talking.
Yeah, sometimes
you're talking kilometers to get to the next stop. Yeah. Like if you look at where we were, the next accessible stop is Jane. So can you imagine the hike from Kipling to Jane?
Come in.
What's going on? He's able-bodied.
How good of you to come.
Hello everyone, we're here today with Brian Donald, who is a human resources worker at Covenant House, and talking about this project of helping Covenant House comply with the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. So, Brian, I was asked, how did you react, I guess, or feel when you knew you had to comply with it?
Well, it was a bit intimidating because I didn't know anything about it, and I was initially told I had to comply by January 1 of 2011. So when I first heard about it, it was sometime in October, I think it was late September, which is a really difficult timeline. So, and especially since I didn't know anything about what I had to comply with. So it was intimidating. I was very fortunate that I got a call, or I got an email message about being from Myers and wanting to come help me out. So.
It's important
Because we're recognizing that persons with disabilities live in our community, the population is significant, and we all want to have fully participating lives, fully engaging in our entire community. It's about equal access, it's about dignity, it's about independence for everyone.
Good. Right. This Disability Act. Robert, let's talk about your findings.
You know what? Let's not talk about it.